Hi everyone, this is Bridget here, and I am grounded. That's what I wanted to talk to you about today, because I know that so many people are challenged with all of these new energies coming in and all of the just changes happening to not just like float off somewhere else, as well as a lot of us are star seeds, indigos, more sensitive beings, and with all the intensity and chaos sometimes in our world, we want to float off into another realm. And so I wanted to talk to you about some ways of grounding and ways to look at it so that you can be more grounded in your life. So the first thing that I want to talk about is, as ways to be grounded, is to connect with the elements. Because think about it, if you're being grounded, what are you being grounded to? Well, one of the things is you, but I'll talk about that in a second, but the other is Earth. Now, ultimately, we're going to end up being on spaceships and in other worlds, so we're going to have to ground on a greater, level to our greater selves. But right now, we're grounding to Earth. So how would we do that? Well, we would ground to what it is comprised of. So it's comprised of the earth element, it's comprised of water running behind me, wind and fire. So these different elements, when you connect with them, it'll ground you to this place, this realm, your present moment. So when you're barefoot or laying, with bare skin on the ground, that's going to ground you. When you get into freezing cold water or hot spring water, you're going to definitely feel more a part of the environment, as well as like letting yourself just be, in the old days they called it like being in the elements, being in the wind and actually making a campfire and looking into the fire. These things are going to ground you to the environment, because oftentimes now we're indoors more often, or we're online, and those things are just going to take us even farther out. So it's a deeper dedication to being a part of this place, this earth, this planet. And the other thing that's kind of obvious, a lot of you know that, but the other part that has been coming to me really strongly is in grounding into your own being. Now, oftentimes when people are ungrounded, they reach for some root vegetables and some food to ground them. And I like that as a temporary solution. I mean, if you're just losing your shit, yeah, go and eat maybe to help you. But the thing is too, is nothing's wrong with being ungrounded, with actually experiencing these energies. That's okay. Yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable for sure, but it's okay to have these times of just complete otherworldliness and unknown, and just your body's just floating around. That's okay. Let that happen. And that's the thing, is as we go to these higher levels, these energies of that are going to come in, and so we just know that that's going to happen for a time, and then we go back to being more grounded in ourselves. So yeah, as a temporary solution, food is a way of grounding. Now, I like it as a temporary solution, and it's important to look to why you're eating as an emotional coping mechanism, and look deeper into that, because I found going into a more like healthy vegan type diet, not that you can't eat meat, that's great, but the idea is, even as I've gotten lighter foods, I haven't needed to reach for it as a way of grounding or coping with the experience. So what are some ways that I've done that? Well, so there's 4 aspects to us, right? We've got our emotional body, our mental body, our spiritual body, and our physical body. So these make up our overall beings here in this realm as people. And so oftentimes we're more, it's easier for us to flow with certain of these energies within ourselves. So people might be more developed in their mental body, or they might have just more of a spiritual connection, so their spiritual body is just more adept. And other people might have an emotional body that's more adept, a physical body, a physical practice is more adept. So kind of think about right now these aspects of yourself that you've developed more. So do you have a more developed mental body? Do you have a more developed spiritual body? So for example, actually those would be two of my most dominant ones. So on a mental capacity, I have a pretty developed mental ability to kind of just, it can go in both ways. It can be in your head, but it also can be that you can just like function on a mental level and be clear as you function in the world from that level. I also have a very connected spiritual ability, so I feel more of spirit. I feel more coming into my crown. So my spiritual body is very like, it's ready to go. Now the two areas that are less so would be my emotional body. And Patrick, my boyfriend, has just been amazing because he's given me the space to really like let my emotions flow. And that emotional flow is really your passion for life. It can be that zest for life. Yeah, it can be to an extreme where you're just like an emotional wreck. Yeah, but letting the emotions flow is really amazing. And then the other aspect is the physical body. So being more of a physically oriented person. And I've found that in the spiritual community, we often kind of push away two of these bodies, the two bodies that I'm going to talk about, which are the emotional body and the physical body. And the emotional body, because we should be better than to feel emotional or feel triggered. And I don't think that's true at all. I think that actually letting the emotional flow that's present will actually bring you more of yourself. You're not disassociating that energy that is coming up within you away from yourself. So that's a way to actually make you more grounded, surprisingly. And the other thing too is the physical body, because it's like, no, I'm just going to like meditate in this high state, you know, for hours and hours, and I don't even need to eat. And it's like, okay, cool, but you have this thing called a physical vessel that is determining your experience here on earth. So really dedicating a lot of emphasis onto the physical body in a really conscious way is going to be the home for all the other aspects of you. It's the home in which all of this new energy can actually settle in, where your whole new being can birth from. And so really taking care of it is going to be so important, and that goes into, of course, what you eat. And but most of all, one of the things that I think gets left out is physical activity. And back in the day, our ancestors, you know, they walked miles a day, and we probably walked to the fridge and back. You know, we're just not walking as much as we used to. We're not spending as much time in nature, and we're not using our body, like cultivating the land, like doing these things. And I'm a really big fan of, and I think that a yoga practice can take it there for you, but actually physically using your body. And as you activate your body, you're going to embody yourself, because often, like for instance, okay, I've been always pretty physically active because from an early age I found that this was critically important for me staying grounded. I was in competitive dance a lot when I was younger, and so when I was physically active, I felt better. I just felt like everything was together in my being. And when I wasn't, I started to really float. And there are times where floating is amazing. Like, let yourself just go to these higher spaces and then come down, but do it consciously. You know, like, I'm going to not be physical for this next week because I'm going to go on a meditative retreat and go high. And it's like, okay, cool, that's awesome. But generally, it's great to stay in a physical practice. So as I've done this, there's aspects of my physical body, even though I've been active, that I haven't even accessed. Particularly my butt. Like, for instance, I started doing these new exercises, and I didn't even know that there were these certain muscles that could be activated. And when these certain muscles or when these certain parts of our bodies are activated, there could be more energy that can live and radiate out from them, as well as knowing the different places within our body. Like, I didn't even know where my stomach was like a few years ago. I think I missed that somehow in school. It's like, I thought my stomach was like down below my belly button. I didn't know that it was like right over here. And that sounds so stupid, and that might sound really stupid, but where are the organs in your body? Like, do you feel your bones, you know? And I feel like that is the ultimate grounding, because grounding is, in a way, how spirit embodies physicality. And so there are different ways of cultivating these different bodies, you know? And so maybe you need to go higher into your spiritual body, or you need to develop mental clarity and focus. So just notice out of the four which one you might be lacking in, that you need to cultivate and put more emphasis into. And the idea is that when the four are really coming into full fruition, your full balance, that is a time when you're whole. And when you're whole, you're grounded. You're a part of, you're running as a full operating system, like in this reality. And that then you can connect with your whole self then to the earth. And so that's one of the approaches that has been really helpful for me. And if you have any questions about it, you can comment below. But I hope this is a nice little introduction into some extra little tools you can use to become more embodied and more grounded as we go through this spiritual process. So use your body, let your emotions flow, be focused, be clear, be precise, and also like let yourself go to these other realms and let yourself imagine and wonder. And so when we bring these together, we can be more complete and more whole. So just explore and let yourself be free.